You wake up at 5 a.m., cold shower, gym, healthy breakfast. You check every box on your discipline checklist, and yet 6 months later, you're still in the exact same place, still broke, still stuck, still wondering why nothing's actually changing. Here's what nobody tells you. The reason you're failing isn't because you lack discipline. It's because discipline without direction is just suffering with good PR. And right now, you're using discipline to avoid the one thing that would actually change your life. Psychology has a name for this: activity bias. The human brain confuses motion with progress. And millions of people are sprinting on a treadmill, convinced they're running a race. Here's the brutal truth. Discipline is a neutral tool. It's a hammer. And right now, you're using that hammer to build someone else's house while your own foundation is rotting. Research shows that 80% of disciplined people are disciplined about the wrong things. They're organized, consistent, and committed to activities that will never actually change their life. You're not lazy. You're just precise about things that don't matter. Here's how you know you're stuck in the discipline trap. You feel productive, but your bank account hasn't moved in months. You have perfect habits, but you're avoiding the one uncomfortable action that actually matters. You can tell people your routine, but you can't tell them your strategy. Psychologists call this productive procrastination. You're not avoiding work, you're doing hard work. You're just doing hard work that keeps you safe. Because it's easier to do 100 push-ups than it is to send one cold email. It's easier to wake up at 5 a.m. than it is to post your first video. It's easier to be disciplined about your morning routine than it is to be strategic about your actual goals. Discipline feels like progress. Strategy feels like exposure. So what actually works? Execution psychology has a framework called the 80-20th discipline rule. 20% of your actions will create 80% of your results. But those actions require 100% of your courage. Most people spend 80% of their discipline on the 80% of tasks that only matter 20%. They're optimizing the irrelevant while avoiding the essential. Here's what you do instead. Identify your one leverage action. The single activity that, if you did it consistently, would actually change your financial situation, your relationships, or your career within 90 days. Not get in shape, not read more books. I'm talking about sending 10 outreach messages a day to potential clients, publishing one piece of content every single day, having the conversation you've been avoiding for 6 months, building the offer you're scared to sell. This is the action you've been using discipline to avoid. And here's where it gets interesting. Once you identify your one leverage action, you don't need more discipline. You need less. Research from behavioral psychology shows that environmental design beats willpower every single time. So instead of disciplining yourself to do the hard thing, you architect your day so the hard thing is unavoidable. If your leverage action is client outreach, you don't try to find time for it. You do it first, before email, before breakfast, before your brain has time to negotiate. You remove the decision entirely. It's not about motivation, it's about inevitability. Here's the part most people won't like hearing. The reason you've been hiding behind discipline routines is because they give you an excuse. As long as you're working on yourself, you're not failing at the thing that actually matters. As long as you're optimizing your habits, you're not facing rejection. As long as you're focused on discipline, you're not risking anything real. And your brain loves this, because discipline feels noble. It feels like you're trying. But execution is terrifying. Because when you execute on the thing that matters, you get real feedback. And real feedback means real failure is possible. That's why most people choose discipline. It's safer than execution. But here's what happens when you flip the script. When you stop performing discipline and start executing on leverage, you join a very different group. The ones who aren't impressive on paper but are quietly building empires. The ones who don't have perfect routines but have growing bank accounts. The ones who look undisciplined to outsiders but are actually just strategically lazy. They don't waste energy on things that don't move the needle. They conserve their discipline for the one action that compounds. So here's your challenge. Stop lying to yourself about what discipline is covering up. Identify your one leverage action, the one you've been avoiding. And tomorrow morning, before you do anything else, before the cold shower, before the journaling, before the perfect routine, do that. Just once. See what happens. Because discipline without execution is just a very organized way to stay exactly where you are. If this hit different, subscribe. Next time, we're breaking down why your goals are actually keeping you poor.